Welcome back. One woman is using her platform to inspire and positively influence professionals. Bronx native Andrea Augustus, also known as the Poetic Black Girl, joined me to discuss her work as a poet and public speaker. Andrea, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, can you let me know what led you on the path of positively influencing individuals in business and in schools?
Yes. So honestly, for as long as I can remember, I've been always hearing, "Oh my gosh, you are so articulate." I was the person in class who actually really enjoyed doing those presentations that most of us were scared to do. So when I put together my passion for speaking and articulating myself with my passion for education, it just seemed really natural for me to go ahead and pursue a career in public speaking for people in schools, so students, and for corporations and businesses. So really, it was just like all of these cool ingredients that I had, just being well spoken and being creative and loving education. And we went ahead and mixed those together, and that's what really like opened these doors for me.
So, on the topic of being creative, the art of poetry is a major part of your work. What are some themes your poetry explores?
Yeah. The art of poetry. I'm the type of person who sees poetry in everything. I think most things are artistic and poetic. And when it comes to my personal pieces, a lot of it stems from my personal experiences as a Black woman growing up in the Bronx. The different things that I've seen, the different ways that I felt in and outside of school, in and outside of friendships, in and outside of family. So what I like to do is take my experiences and write them in a way that isn't just good for people to hear, but it's also healing for myself. So in my piece, Ain't I a Feminist? It's a piece about Black feminism and how, as a Black woman, we face discrimination for being a woman, one, and then we also face discrimination for being Black on top of that. I have another piece called Scab, and that kind of digs into the healing process that we go through as we all heal our traumas that we're, in 2022 figuring out and learning to address and navigate with. So scabs is kind of about that healing process. I have so many different things that I talk about, and I think it's cool for people to hear it. Yeah.
Now, you also have a focus on education. I think being from the Bronx, that is super, super important. How do you implement that into your work as well?
Yeah. So in my day to day, I actually am a public speaker in schools, right? So what does that mean? What does that look like? I go into different schools in New York City, all the way from the Bronx, where we are, to Brooklyn, Queens, and I give public speaking seminars about different things. How to be more motivated, how to manage time, how to manage stress, different study skills. And these are all not just study skills, but skills in general. And these are all things that I wish that I knew how to do, or I had somebody come in and talk to me about when I was still in school. When I was in high school, I wish somebody came in and told me it's all going to be okay. This is how you can manage your time, and this is how you can be a lot less stressed with all of the things that you're going through. So I think introducing children to these different skills while they're still learning is really important.
I like that you also extended to high schoolers. I was just thinking, college students or people who are career searching, but I think it's actually really important to start early and kind of get those kids motivated early. So I'm really glad to hear you say that you also work with high school students.
Yes. By the time you get to college, you kind of already set. Okay, you already have years and years of not managing your time
Right.
or not figuring out how to get motivated. So if we could get a sixth grader or an eighth grader or a 10th grader to figure out how to manage their time and just these personal development skills, goes a long way even to their adulthood. So that's the things that we like to see.
That's amazing. Now, I know one of the topics you also focus on is the importance of diversity and inclusion. I think this is really super important. And I think focusing on identity is something that I just really like in general. Why was that important for you to include that in your work?
Yeah. So as I personally started realizing, like, oh shoot, I'm speaking in schools and I'm good at speaking in schools. They're realizing what I'm saying. I started to dive deeper into, what a public speaker is, right? So a public speaker is anybody who goes in front of a live audience to make a point or to talk about certain things. So even broadcasting, that's public speaking in a way. So when I go into places that aren't schools, like organization, a company, a corporation, and I do public speaking, here I'm no longer talking about study skills and time management because it kind of already figured it out. They have a business that is doing well and successful. So here, when my audience is corporations and HR representatives and employees, instead of talking about study skills, we're talking about diversity. We're talking about what it means to have a diverse workplace and how having a diverse workplace actually benefits everyone in that workplace. Diversity leads to a lot more problem solving. It has a lot more resiliency just because as people of color, we have been put through a lot. So when your boss is asking you to come up with an idea or a pitch, maybe the first one doesn't go over, we're naturally resilient. So we know how to bounce back and create even more pitches. Diverse workplaces actually make more money. So I like to go into different corporations and talk about what diversity actually looks like, especially on a management level, because we're seeing that in corporations, most of the management is white. And we want to introduce diversity into those management positions. We want the people who are making decisions to be diverse. That way everything is more well-rounded, more profitable, happier, transparent, and all of that jazz. So me being a black woman, I am specifically the right person to talk about diversity since I've been to predominantly white institutions, since I've always been a black woman, since I personally experienced the pain of not having diverse spaces. So yeah, identity is extremely important. It's extremely important.
And then can you explain how understanding your identity could actually strengthen your success professionally?
Yeah. When you know who you are and when you know where you come from and you know your place in the world, you are qualified to take the next steps to figure out not only where you're going, but where people who have identities similar to you can go. So I'll bring it to me specifically. As a black woman, I'm looking to make more spaces for black people and for people of color in these environments. And doing this helps professionally and personally because it adds a sense of fulfillment, a sense of, okay, as a black woman, like society will sometimes tell black women, we're not enough, we're a burden. So instead of it being like I'm a burden, it's okay, I'm putting other black people on in a way that makes sense and in a way that is digestible for not just people of color, but everybody. And yeah, it feels good personally. That's what I would say.
So can you tell me a little bit more about the workshops?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. So I started as a poet. That's how I got introduced into being a public speaker in general. Poetry, doing spoken word pieces and doing monologues. So that poetic part of me is really big. So I decided to create space for writers and artists alike to come together and actually create these poems, right? Sometimes we're in school, but there aren't any poetry classes. Or sometimes we graduate from school, but nobody's really pushing us or making the space for us to do poetry. So I actually host poetic workshops where you can, attend with me and we will get you writing a poem that tells your specific story, a poem that represents your identity and who you are. And at the end of the workshop, you'll be a stronger public speaker as you're ready to actually share this poem using all of the tips and tricks that we use in order to really get your point across off stage, on stage, and have that stage presence.
All right. Well, before you go, can you just let everybody know how they can get in contact with you, whether it's for their workshop or if somebody wants you to come speak to their organization or to their school?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Andrea Augustus, also known as the Poetic Black Girl. You can find me on Instagram at Poetic Black Girl. You can also visit my website, www.poeticblackgirl. And if you want to book me for a speaking engagement, the best way to do that is to head on over to www.andreaaugustus.com and tell me all about your company or your school and exactly what you're looking for, and we can go ahead and get that set up. Thank you so much.
All right, Andrea, thank you so much for joining us. You have so many beautiful things to offer. So, I appreciate you taking the time to speak to us about that.
Yes, Kibin, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So that is all for our show today. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.